Hi, Dot. How are you?
Hi, Camila. I'm fine. How are you? Are you okay?
Yes, I am
Great to
okay.
see you.
And my cat's there. He's okay too. Can you
Oh
see him?
my goodness. Look at him. Wow.
He's
What a
okay.
life.
Yeah, yeah, he's that way all day.
Super.
You don't have
Yeah.
pets, right?
No, I don't myself. No,
Mm-hmm.
no, but some of my family do.
Yeah,
Cats.
cats,
Yeah.
cats. They're very special. I got a
Yeah.
thing for cats. So we are here today, and thank you again for participating. It's lovely to have you
My
here every
pleasure.
time. Thank you. So we are here today to discuss. Would you like to introduce the topic? What are we discussing today?
We are discussing how to get people into a conversation, or how to make it easier for people to have a conversation with you and talk about themselves and open up so that they can actually take part in a conversation.
Yeah. Do you think that our profession as tutors and teachers helps us to ask better questions? When you first started, were your questions to get you know your students as good as they are now, or did you have to learn how to make questions? Were you always good at conversation, Dot?
No, I don't think I was always good at conversation, but I think probably because I became an English teacher very old. I was very old when I first did it. So
Yeah.
probably I have a lot of experience of talking to people anyway, especially in my job because I was a nurse. And so I dealt with people all the time. So but I think I probably have improved, asking questions from people who don't speak my native language. So you have to do it in a different way, well, more slowly and making sure people understand you. But it's the same principle, just asking about people. So yeah, I'm probably better than I used to be. Yeah, I think. And you? Are you better, do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Uh, I would sometimes ask questions that, I must admit that when I first started, like some years ago, um, I would make my students, they were not natural. My questions, they felt my students feel like they were being interviewed for a job or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you
Yeah.
have any trick like, I know now, but maybe our listeners, they are maybe struggling to, especially with English, that is a foreign language for most of my viewers, my 12 people, 10 people who watch the videos. So how would you,
Yeah.
what would you
I
suggest?
Well, one way to encourage people to talk about themselves, because many people are shy of getting into conversation or don't know how to do it very easily. Even in their own language, many people are
Yeah.
very shy, and especially if they're in a situation that is unfamiliar to them. So, like a party or a new job or something. So even in your native language, but especially maybe if in another language, one thing you can do to find out about other people and get them involved is to ask them specific type of questions. And by that, I mean open questions. So an open question is one where you can't give a closed answer. A closed answer is yes or no. That stops the conversation. If you ask somebody, sometimes you have to, obviously, if you ask somebody a question where the answer is yes or no, the conversation isn't going anywhere,
Yeah.
really. You have to think of something else to ask. And what you want is people to respond and open up a little bit, because that's what conversation is. It's finding out about each other and interests and discussions. So a question that is open is usually one that begins with what or why or how or when or how much. And then the answer has to be some information. So getting a little bit of information out of people, yeah, then you can respond with your own ideas. So you've got some information from this person. You can then respond to say what you think, or you can ask another question. You've got to be a bit careful, though, a bit like you said a minute ago. You can't ask question after question after question, because it feels like this person is being interviewed, or or it can be quite scary. So you've got to be careful. There is a kind of, we call it a rule of thumb, like a general kind of rule that some people say you should maybe ask 2 open questions, and then maybe either a closed question or make a statement about yourself. So not all questions. So I don't know, I could ask you where you were born, and then maybe did you, so, and where did you go to school, or what was your school like? And then I've asked you 2 open questions. Maybe then I could say, did you like it? So if you start a question with did or do, usually the answer is yes or no. And then you could, that's easy for you. Yeah. Or I can say, oh, my school was terrible. I hated every minute of it. And you're making a statement. So there's a kind of, we call to and fro, you and me. So I don't know, does that sound the same as what you think about open questions?
Yeah. In the thing that I try to be most careful about.
Yeah, most careful about.
Because usually nowadays I'm always interacting with foreigners, and I don't know if my open questions, they are too open, let's say. They are too personal, because yesterday I was talking to a meditation friend. Well, he's not a friend. Well, maybe he's becoming a friend, but then we were having a conversation about meditation, and then he said, I'm going to travel tomorrow. And then I said, okay, where are you traveling to? And then he told me he's going, I already forgot, but he told me the place he was going to. And then he gave me an information. I'm going with my friends because my girlfriend, she's traveling to Ecuador to work. And then when he gave me that statement after, that's important too, right? When we are asking questions. So I asked him, where are you traveling to? He said, traveling to that place with my friends. I didn't ask with whom he was traveling, but it was nice that he gave me that information, so I would have more things about him. And then he added, I didn't ask either, or I haven't asked.
I didn't ask,
thank you. But he said, my girlfriend, it's not coming because she's traveling to that place. And then I was with those informations, and then I thought, okay, so what could I ask him? He's from Spain. We are in the process of becoming friends. Should I ask him, for how long are you traveling? How long are you staying there? Do you usually travel with friends? How long have you been dating your girlfriend? And then I thought the third question is not, it's personal. Yeah. And then sometimes I feel like that. I felt like I should, or should I say something like, oh, normally I travel with friends too, and then ask something, because sometimes I'm not sure what is the right question to ask. And I'm sure that other people feel that too. Like, there are a lot of things we could ask people, but for you, for example, what kind of questions would you feel comfortable asking people that you are just meeting? Like, would you like to talk about your hobbies, about your vacation, about your job, but maybe not your personal life? What is the right questions to ask when we are the type of open questions that we could ask people? What are your hobbies, your interests? Yeah, personally, for you.
Like like for a first conversation, that when you're meeting somebody for the first time, so for me to be asked the questions that I might be asked, that I don't mind answering many things really, and very general things, but also I don't mind being asked about my family. I'd rather people didn't ask how old I was, but you know, I may not tell them.
You don't like them? You don't like them asking?
Not normally,
I don't like
no.
either. I don't like either.
No. And in the UK, that doesn't happen. You just don't ask somebody how old they are.
Especially women. We should never ask the women's age. Never. I don't like it. Yeah.
But I think, especially maybe not for younger people, may not want to give too much information about their personal life. I don't know. But for older people, especially people with children and grandchildren, not everybody has grandchildren, but it's a perfectly normal question to say, do you have grandchildren, or do you have children, you know, and are you married? That's a perfectly normal question. Depends who's asking it, of course, but that's perfectly normal. Yeah, I'm married, or no, actually I'm divorced. Do you have children? Yeah. Have you got grandchildren? Yeah, I have 7 grandchildren. And of course grandparents like talking about grandchildren, so sometimes you have to be careful you don't get them onto grandchildren.
You'll be listening.
You might be there all day. Yeah, but what did you do for a job? What do you do for a job? What hobbies do you like? Do you like traveling? Anything, like, do you like films? Do you like reading? What are your favorite authors? Yeah, all kinds of things. Yeah, where do you go on holiday? What do you like to do? Anything like that. But some personal questions, are fine. Maybe, you know, if you're a young guy and you meet a girl, you have to be a little bit careful, maybe, or the other way around, asking if they're married or have they got a girlfriend, because that could be regarded as maybe a leading question. You're trying to find out something about them, but normally, you know, it's okay just to ask, maybe not about girlfriends and boyfriends, but about your family, where you were born, where you grew up, anything like that. But I think the secret then is actually to listen to what the person says and then ask your next question about what they've said.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy, especially if you're a bit nervous, you're a bit unsure of yourself.
Yeah.
It's really easy to think of a list of questions in your head. So you ask the first question, the person replies, but you don't respond to that. You actually ask the next question in your head. Yeah. Yeah. And that's really easy to do. So you have to think, no, what are they telling me about themselves? Then ask the next question about that. But it's just a skill, you know, it's a thing that you learn like everything else, I think.
Yeah, there is this spiritual author called Eckhart Tolle. He wrote a book called The Power of Now. Don't know if you have heard of it.
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Yeah. No, it's basically he is teaching how to be in the moment and how that could make a fulfilling life, could create a fulfilling life. And I have seen some of his interview, especially like classes that he gives, speeches and such. And at first, when someone would ask him a question, usually they would tell him a story and ask a question about their story. And he will be in silence sometimes for a minute, which feels like for me forever. It's like I asked you, for example, so Dot, I don't know, what songs have you completely memorized, let's say. And then he would go like, because I feel like for us nowadays, communication needs to happen fast. Like you ask me something, I answer
instantly.
Instantly. That's why we are asking one question, but we have already another question, and then we expect the person to answer. Then it's like this back and forth game. And then I felt like, wow, so he takes time to listen and to think about an answer. Maybe going quiet for a minute, it's not very polite. Or then
No,
we
that's
could
quite
say,
scary.
we could say, oh,
Yeah.
let me think. Oh, interesting question. Let me
Yeah.
think. And then we could, because there are questions that sometimes we are a bit careless when we are talking, right? We give some information that sometimes we don't even think about it. It's just like, are you fine? Yes. Usually when people ask, when people ask, are you fine? There's only one answer. Yes, I am.
Yes.
Right.
Are you okay? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. But there are other questions like that we don't take time to think of. Like, so I like the idea of like listening, like really listening, and take time to digest or say, oh, what do you mean by that? Oh, that's very interesting. Oh, you know, really listening. So it's a great advice.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. So it's like when I was saying a minute ago about asking open questions, not all, but more open questions than closed questions. And then putting maybe after every 2 or 3 open questions, you put a statement. But sometimes the statement might be about yourself because you don't want it to be just about this other person. It's about what question they've said something about, I don't know, their childhood, and then you say, oh, that's really interesting. And how did, I don't know, if them I don't know, maybe their mum had a really amazing job, and but she wasn't at home all the time. Oh, that's interesting. But how did that feel at the time? And how did, because that shows you're actually listening to what they're saying. And so some of the statements can be confirming what you've heard, but actually asking another question then. So you're doing 2 things at the same time then. You're saying, yeah, I've heard you and I'm interested. And now tell me a little bit more. Yeah. Then you hope that they will ask you some questions. So you have to be ready to give answers to questions as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't happen. And sometimes if people get into conversation and start asking somebody questions, the other person is willing to give information, but they don't reciprocate. They don't ask questions back. And that can be difficult. So then you have to, because it can be quite boring then. If somebody's only talking about themselves, it's actually quite boring. And so you have to somehow put in, oh, well, I did this, or actually my experience is like this. And you hope that they're going to ask you some questions. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. It's something that I need sometimes to teach some students, to say, because in conversational lessons, sometimes, I mean, it does not happen often, but sometimes you ask students, how are you? And they would say, fine, thank you. And then I would say, I'm fine too. I'm okay too. That's great to know you're okay. I am okay.
They haven't asked you, which is actually, that's not, and they need to know that. If they're learning your language, they need to know what is the normal thing you do. The normal polite exchange of greetings. This is really important. And then what do you do after that? It's really important. Yeah,
because they want to make friends. They are learning the language to communicate with natives.
Absolutely.
So it's very important to say, I teach them, and you, how about you? If someone asks you, you give them an answer, especially like preferably a truthful one, and then you ask, what about you? How do you think of that?
Yeah, of course.
But we need also, I am good at picking up when people are not very interested in striking up a conversation. I am, and then when that happens, when they don't, what about you? And then I thought, oh, okay, so I just keep quiet. I always bring a book in my purse. So, okay. And then usually I like to talk. I do. I usually like to talk to, if I'm in a waiting room, I like to talk to people. I really love talking to people, really, strangers everywhere. Really.
Yeah, you can have amazing conversations with strangers because you're never going to see them again. Yeah, there've been some fantastic stories written about that, where you've had this conversation and given all your secrets, or somebody's given all their secrets to you, and then you meet the person again somewhere I've had some really fantastic conversations with strangers on trains and planes and
Do you remember any?
Anyone
particular?
I remember somebody, I can't remember a lot about it now, but telling me about their wife and their relationship and how it
really
all split
personal
up. Yeah, really personal stuff. Yeah, one person. And it was kind of sad, but I think, by the end, this guy just kind of probably had got a load off his chest, and I was never going to see him again. So it was fine.
It is.
But just people's difficulties with jobs or family, or it doesn't happen all the time, but it has happened in the past. But I can't remember what I was going to say now. But it's really important to kind of reciprocate and sorry, you were talking about taking a book in your bag. That's what you were talking about. So we
were. So if they don't reciprocate, you just because it could be weird. Like you try to talk to some. Well, but that's not the reason why I bring a book. The reason is that I want to read. It's not to avoid But if I try to talk to them. But usually people talk. They are very open, especially here in Brazil. So we talk about if I'm in the waiting for, I don't know, a doctor, we are going to talk. I went to the skin doctor, dermatologist, yeah, and then I would say things like, oh my god, I wish I used more screen protector for the skin,
sunscreen,
yeah. And then they would say, oh, me too, it's so, and then we start there,
that's right, and that's easy. And then once you've done the icebreaker, the first thing, the first comment or whatever, and usually quite often it's a comment about you or the weather. In England it's often about the weather. What is it about the weather? But people respond usually, about the weather, because we all complain about it. But you can usually tell if somebody doesn't want to talk to you. So especially on a plane or a train, because this person might be thinking, oh my God, I just want to sit and read my book, and she's going to talk to me all the time. Well, then you just leave it. You can tell if people are like, no, you think, okay, that's fine, just leave it and read your book. You can usually tell.
No, I was going to ask you if do you find it more, are there nationalities that you find there are the easiest ones to talk to strike up conversations, or no? For example, I find actually English people, I find they're shyer.
More shy.
I find them more shy than other people in Europe. For example, Spanish, French. I find them more shy, but extremely polite. My English students, they're very polite.
Really?
We have talked that, I guess. They're always saying, please, sorry, excuse me.
Oh yeah, we do that.
Very polite. And I thought, wow. And they usually do interested. They ask you, what about you? How was your day? How was your weekend? They are very interested. But for personal matters, I find that it takes me more time for them to open up and talk about their personal life.
A bit reserved, a bit more shy about talking about personal things. I think so. I think Italians and Spanish people are maybe more open. I don't know, but maybe a little bit more open. But then people say that German people are reserved. I go to Germany. I have been to Germany and Austria quite a few times. And I find that most of them are fine, just chatting. If you're in a social situation, they will chat to you about their family and everything. So you can't always go by the, stereotypes. But Italians and Spanish people, I think, quite open about things. I'm not sure about French people. They're mixture. Everybody's different, aren't they, really? I think I live in the north of England, and people in the north of England, we say we're much more friendly than people from London and the south of England. But I don't think that's true, really. You know, people say that if you stand at a bus stop in the north of England, especially in Yorkshire, where I come from,
God's own county. The
God's own county. Yorkshire is
in the God's one, God's
own
county.
County. Yeah, that's right. Yorkshire is. You got it. You're absolutely. That means you can come here anytime.
Yeah, I will.
But people say that if you stand at a bus stop, somebody will talk to you. The next person standing at the bus, not always, but very often. Or if you're on a train, it's quite often that somebody will chat to you. But some people don't like that, and that's fine. Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit of a, I think it's a little bit of a joke that, you know, you can't stand at a bus stop in the north of England without somebody talking to you.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah.
I don't know, probably happens in London as well, but yeah, this is like the myth. Yeah. So
I love that. So personally for you, when you are, let's say, not meeting someone like randomly on a bus stop, but when you are like, when you're having a lesson with a teacher, I know you study German and Italian, or when you're meeting a friend of a friend, what are the things that you like to know about them? Like for me, for example, it's weird, but I like to know if they meditate. I like to know if people speak other languages. Because those are the topics that I could go on forever. Like I like to know if they are into psychology, if they like, I don't know, TV show, movies. So those are the things that I could talk about. For you, what are the information that you are trying to get out of people when you are meeting them and you intend to be talking with them?
Gosh, I don't know, really. Different things for different people, but I think mainly, especially if it's a woman, younger or older like me, but probably especially somebody my age or a little bit younger, I would ask about their family. That's the biggest thing for many, not the only thing, but you know that you probably have something in common with another woman your age, whether they have children or not, but they have families like brothers, sisters. I'm interested in relationships, how families work and how they tick. And there are always stories inside families, sometimes astounding stories, sometimes really surprising things that happen. So that's one thing, relationships, families, but also the jobs people have done, because quite often those are really interesting. Yeah. I used to be a nurse. I might have told you this, in a gynecology department, and my job was to talk to the patients when, anyway, we won't go into that, but that was my job, was to make people feel, women, particularly, obviously women,
comfortable,
feel better, just take their mind off stuff. And I remember talking to one lady about her job, because one of the things I asked, and she said, I work in a light bulb factory. And I thought, oh goodness, light bulb, like the lights in your, like the little thing you use. Yeah. And I thought, oh, wow, that's challenging. But I asked her about it. I was thinking, oh my gosh, what do I ask about this? But I asked her, okay, well, so what kind of light bulbs and what do you actually do? What is your job? And she told me. And then I asked her another question about that. What kind of light bulbs and how are they made, actually? I don't know anything about this. How are light bulbs made? And she told me. And by the time that we'd finished the conversation, I knew loads of things about light bulbs. And I had no idea before the conversation. I didn't know how I was going to do this conversation, but I just let her lead it, really. And she said to me, I didn't know light bulbs were so interesting.
Amazing. Not amazing. So curiosity, right? Curiosity is the main factor about when we are...
Curiosity, yeah, curiosity. And that's not to say that I'm any better than anybody else. I was just stuck in this situation where I thought, I need to talk to this person. And I don't think anybody had ever asked her about her job, because when she said to me, nobody's really asked me about it before. Because when she said, I work in a light bulb factory, that was the end of the conversation. And yet it was really interesting. So sometimes we have to think, actually, there is more to this than you think, and I can find out something. Yeah. So sometimes we have not a duty, but almost a responsibility to ask about other people and find out. And you find out amazing things about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a famous book that I'm always mentioning in my conversations that is called 12 Rules for Life. It's by a psychologist called Jordan Peterson. And there is one rule called, always assume the person you're talking to knows something you don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that. I think you told me that, actually.
Maybe I'm always talking about that book.
That is so true. It is so true, yeah. And, you know, one thing you can do, and I have done this in about the person at the party who nobody's talking to, go and talk to them. Because you may not want to, because you think, why is nobody talking to that person? They must be really boring. In fact, they're probably just shy. And sometimes they're not boring at all. Sometimes they are the most interesting person in the room. It's just that they're not talking about themselves, where everybody else is chatting. So, but you have to kind of think, okay, this might not be easy. But very often they're quite interesting people. It's just that they're shy and they don't know how to come out of themselves. So yeah, make it a rule. Talk to the person who nobody else is talking to. Sometimes it backfires. Yeah, because sometimes you get stuck with somebody who is very boring, but you will give them a good time.
Yeah. I think the odds is that everything will work out. Amazing. Dot.
Well,
Thank
not
you
really.
so much. No, tell me.
Life experience.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is a great advice. Thank you. I always have a lot of fun talking to you and also rewatching our conversations over and over and over and over. Yeah, sometimes I'm afraid.
Have better things to do.
Yeah, no, but I learned so much. YouTube gives me subtitles and I can write down interesting things that you say that I understand, but I wouldn't say. So
yeah,
thank you.
Okay, yeah, I like watching yours though. I've seen some great interviews, chats with other people and some amazing conversations. It's brilliant. I think it's really good. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you again for participating. Thank you for giving me extra time.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
No. It isn't extra time. It's fine. I enjoy it.
Thank you.
Okay.
I wish you a great week and I talk to you soon.
Yeah. Have a great time. Enjoy yourself. Okay.
Thank you, Dot.
Bye.
Bye.